Hi everyone, I've been missing being in class with you, so I got an idea and I thought maybe I could read some of our favorite books to you through the computer. Let's give it a try. Today I picked out one of my all-time favorite books. You've heard it before, Pete and Pickles. We read this together at the beginning of the year, but it's been a while, so I thought it would be fun to read it again and see what new things you notice and wonder while we're reading this book. I'm going to be asking you as we read to be thinking about what the main characters are feeling throughout this story. They feel a lot of different emotions, so see what words you can come up with to describe how they're feeling. All right, let's get started. This is the front of the book. This is the back of the book. The spine and the title. Now let's take a look. Pete and Pickles by Berkeley Breathed. This book is dedicated to Sophie and Milo. Pete was a perfectly predictable pig. He was also a perfectly practical pig and a perfectly uncomplicated pig. Being all those perfect things, Pete might have run for the hills if he had known what was coming that night. The storm arrived first. Pete cut the evening's fun off early and went to bed to get the nightmare out of the way. The same terrifying, watery nightmare all pigs dream during stormy nights. For pigs are known for doing only one thing while in water. Drowning. And that is exactly what Pete dreamt he was doing when a sudden sound woke him up. I wonder what that sound might be. The window was open. Pete pulled the lamp switch. Nothing happened. He had an odd feeling. Pigs are very smart in this way. That something was a little wrong. How do you think Pete might be feeling in this moment? Pete is the pig. Pickles is the elephant. Pete was suddenly grabbed, hugged really, by a wet nose, at the other end of which was a wet elephant. The beast whispered, "Shh." She said nothing else, but her eyes spoke clearly. "Help me." Then, a knock at the door. A clown asked Pete if he'd seen any sign of an escaped elephant named Pickles. "There, under the couch. Look carefully," Pete said. As the circus man led the sad, slumping elephant away, Pete was startled when she looked back at him and smiled. The next morning, Pete was disinfecting his house when he noticed his midnight visitor had left behind a gift. Dandelions. Ridiculous, thought Pete as he scrubbed. But that afternoon, Pete took his usual short walk. He looked down at the evening mist rolling in and saw a circus tent. He looked at the dandelion. "Ridiculous," he muttered. Today, however, Pete would take a longer walk. Where do you predict he might be going? Let's see if your prediction comes through. He soon found himself amidst the circus tents, watching a long nose plucking every dandelion within reach. Did you predict the circus tent? Good job. Pete knew that nose, and it knew him. It plucked Pete's hat and disappeared. Seconds before Pete called the police, his hat was pushed back out. Improved. Take a good look at those pictures. How did Pickles improve his hat? And more importantly, how do you think Pete is feeling right now? Remember, Pete's the pig. How might he be feeling? Go ahead and whisper into your hands how you think he's feeling. Maybe toss what you think out into the air. Maybe I'll catch it here at my house. Let's keep reading. Pete looked in to see Pickles sitting in a very dark corner of a very dark tent, wearing a very locked chain. Pete suddenly, unexplainably, found himself reaching for the key. Look at Pete. What is he doing? I predict that he's going to help Pickles escape. I'm thinking Pete might be kind of concerned for Pickles. And I'm thinking Pickles is pretty upset about being in that corner. But she's trying to make the best of it by picking flowers anyways. Let's see what happens. Now free outside, Pickles dove to hide, while a panicked Pete whispered, "Tea was on my schedule today, not elephants." Being a practical pig, however, he knew they needed a disguise. Something, anything, Pete thought fast, and it worked. Too well, a policeman suggested dinner. Point to the screen, where do you see Pickles the elephant? They reached Pete's house by nightfall. A weary Pickles retired after making herself comfortable in a pair of Pete's favorite pajamas. An elephant in a pig's pajamas? What? Understand this. You have not heard snoring until you have had an elephant nap on your couch. Pete was a perfectly unpleased pig. Tomorrow, he thought, the big girl leaves. Well, Pickles the elephant sure looks comfortable, doesn't she? Pete, on the other hand, let's see. Pete awoke the next day to find Pickles doing a little morning Tai Chi, as if she were in China, which she certainly was not, thought Pete. On the other hand, Pete noted that his house guest had made a few changes to the grounds. This time, Pete did not say ridiculous. What do you notice is different now in Pete's garden? And how do you think Pickles is feeling here? Give me a thumbs up if your first thought was happy. Now, what other word other than happy might describe how Pickles is feeling? Maybe excited. Maybe she's feeling free because she's out of the circus. Whisper another word into your hands. How might she be feeling? Let's keep reading. If you're reading with someone, whisper to them what word you were thinking. Later that morning, Pete experienced the goosebumpy joy of a back scrubbing with his newspaper and coffee. He also discovered the limits of his bathtub. Take a look at that. What are the limits of his bathtub? Does the elephant fit? Oh boy. Pickles showed Pete a magazine article about high diving. High diving is when you jump off of a cliff from way up high. She pointed to both of them. Ridiculous, Pete said. Pigs and elephants sink like bricks. Pickles just smiled. After lunch, they would swan dive off Niagara Falls. Make a prediction. Do you think they're really going to swan dive off a huge waterfall? Let's see. And they did. Sort of. Look how resourceful and creative they are. They're in a water fountain, not a waterfall. On Tuesday, they sledded down the Matterhorn of Switzerland, some of the world's highest snowy mountains. Sort of. Pete was learning that Pickles had lots of plans. What are they sledding down instead? Go like this if you've ever sledded down a hill full of leaves. On Sunday, they went to Tahiti for brunch. Pickles, as always, shared her tropical refreshments with the natives. She sure is a generous elephant, isn't she? After Paris, it was on to the lazy canals of Venice. Pete did not know any romantic Italian songs, which did not stop him from singing them. Pete is singing Pete the Practical Pig. Pickle sniffed a fragrant Venetian lily and shared it with Pete in a manner nicely suited for elephants and pigs. Think quietly in your head, what do you notice about Pete the Pig? How is he changing a little bit? I'm noticing that before Pickles came, Pete's life was maybe a little boring. And now they're so creative together and coming up with all sorts of fun, imaginative games to play. Show me that silent me too if you were noticing something similar. It was when Pete returned home one evening and found ballet tryouts in Moscow, soaring paracows over Tuscany, and house painters on his roof, that his thoughts turned to his earlier life. A less complicated life, thought Pete. How do you think Pete is feeling to come home and see this chaos and all of these animals at his home? How might he be feeling right now? Maybe a little disappointed, maybe frustrated. Soon after, Pete discovered Pickles getting into things she should not have been in. He snapped. Take a look. It looks like maybe Pickles is dressing up in Pete's mom's clothes. I bet that might hurt his feelings. And if he snapped, I think that means his lid flipped. He is angry. I am a predictable, practical, uncomplicated pig. Or I was before, he yelled. As the shocked Pickles fell back into the bathtub, the last words she remembered hearing were the worst. It's time you probably left. Quick, make a prediction. What do you think's gonna happen? She's falling into the bathtub. Pete is so angry. Whisper into your hands. What do you predict? Okay, lock that prediction into your brain. Let's see if it comes true. Something broke. A pipe gushed water in a spewing torrent. The house filled while a panicky Pete screamed, Pickles! The mop! Buckets! Sponges! Never mind! Head up for higher ground! Oh no. Did you predict something like this? Did you predict that the pipes would start to break and start to throw water everywhere? Now remember, Pete the pig is afraid of water and afraid of swimming. I wonder if Pickles feels the same way. Pete worried that the high ground would run out. And as a matter of fact, it did. And when all the snouts and snoots in the now flooded house were fully stretched to their furthest reach, only one had found the refuge of sweet air. Look, their house is completely underwater, except at the very top. What do you notice there? Pete's little nose is out. Up here where there's no water, just air. Breathing in deep. And look at Pickles helping him. What a great friend. Pete clung tightly to the last open window. He looked back down into the face of one far too heavy to join him and noticed, once again, as always, a smile. No matter what, Pickles is always smiling. You can see Pete there trying to breathe through the window and Pickles smiling up at him. Now what? At that terrible moment, what occurred to Pete was not how his life had become so unpredictable, so unpractical, and so completely complicated with Pickles. No. What occurred to Pete was his life without her. Think about that. What was his life like without Pickles? It sounds like maybe Pete is grateful for all of the fun and imagination that Pickles brought into his life. So that endless night would be the longest of all their great journeys. And when the fireman finally climbed to the window the next morning, he could not believe what he found. I bet you can guess it. He found a very small pig breathing for a very large elephant all night, every hour, every minute, every breath shared. When they finally emptied the house, the fireman looked down in puzzlement at the exhausted pair of sleeping friends. They tried, but they could not pull Pete from the mighty grasp of Pickles. The two slept all day, through the night, and on until morning. Wow, look at that hard work they did for each other. And there they are, sleeping together, so exhausted. Such great friends. They slept on until the next morning, when they awoke to pick blueberries on the dandelion moons of Pluto, and Pete sang his favorite songs. The end. I'll be excited to hear what you think of that book. Hope you guys are well. I'll be sending more videos like this soon.